There was something in Michioka's smile that didn't quite feel right to all of us in the room. This wasn't the assertive, perpetually inquiring theoretical physicist we had grown accustomed to watching on television screens, laid back solving the secrets of the universe. No, he faltered, his words broke, his eyes fixated too long on one picture projected behind him. When he finally did speak, the room full of top scientists, reporters, and space historians were stiffened into cold silence. The talk was to discuss fresh data from lunar observation satellites, but what transpired generated shock waves within the world of science and beyond. This was not another dataset. It was written as a cosmic confession. Something concealed under the moon's surface had rewritten all we presumed we knew. At the end of that video, the audience was informed we would know why Michio could no longer suppress his tears, because what they discovered at the bottom of the moon wasn't natural. Kaku started by deconstructing decades of unanimity. With newly launched quantum deep imaging satellites, scientists had mapped the moon's subsurface using technology way more advanced than anything ever tried before. Instead of solid rock, they had enormous hollow chambers, some hundreds of kilometers wide, patterned in symmetrical arrays no natural phenomenon could possibly account for. These are not ancient lava tubes or random air pockets. They contain structure, order, alignment. They imply purpose. When temperature readings showed hot spots throbbing from within these emptinesses, too precise, too intense to be geological, the room was laden with the horror of something that shouldn't exist. Something within the moon seemed not only constructed but, somehow, still animate. Whether a reactor, a device, or a monument, it was not named by Kaku. He didn't need to. The information, he claimed, did not need speaking for it. Next were the patterns. Gravitational anomalies previously rejected as measurement artifacts or small discrepancies, when plotted in high resolution, created a global network spanning from pole to pole. This lattice correlated exactly with the internal cavities and reflective metal areas exposed by radar. It was not chance but design. Kaku showed gravitational plots from 3 different agencies that indicated this lunar lattice, an invisible framework propping up the moon's location with unnerving accuracy. If that grid were operating and powered, the moon could be sustaining more than its own orbit. It could be actually controlling Earth, its tidal action, its axis stability, possibly much more. The moon, Kaku suggested, might not be simply a satellite but a controller. If it was constructed or installed, then immediate questions arose: by whom and why? When he transitioned from hard science to mythology, Kaku's tone became somber. He showed us imagery from Sumerian, Mayan, and Egyptian writings, civilizations that spoke of the moon, not as an immortal background, but as an arrival, a visitor, even a schoolteacher. He read of nights without the moon and of sky gods coming down from it. Until this point, those stories had been interpreted as poetic metaphor, inscribed over the lunar information. The myths started to seem like cautionary tales, shards of memory kept intact through symbolism. Even lunar eclipses, previously accounted for as simple astronomical coincidence, gained new significance. The moon's size and distance are so close to being just right that it can precisely cover the sun during an eclipse, a phenomenon found only on Earth. Coincidence, cosmic engineering for observation or show? The more Kaku disclosed, the more evident a horror scenario became. The moon not only controls Earth's geology, but could have been governing human consciousness for thousands of years. The piece de resistance of his presentation was the most chilling. Through subsurface radar and high-frequency tomography, scientists detected reflective materials under the moon's crust, metals unknown to present-day science, spread in geometric patterns that absorbed and deflected radar waves in unnatural patterns. These were not natural ores but functionally engineered alloys. When tested virtually for stress, these materials acted like shielding, casing intended to survive time, pressure, and impacts. Kaku ventured, short of going on record, that perhaps what we were seeing were the remnants of an old machine or, worse, a sleeping system that would burst into life. Moonquakes, those unexplained seismic echoes first detected since the Apollo landings, started to sound less like a groan of the Earth and more like movements, signals, reverberations of something moving inside. The moon wasn't just mystical anymore, it was answering. And that meant one jarring conclusion: something within it still listened. One chilling discovery Kaku raised was not new at all. It had been in plain sight for over half a century. During the Apollo 12 mission, NASA engineers intentionally crashed the ascent stage of the lunar module into the moon's surface to record seismic activity, and what they detected was so strange many wrote it off as a technical glitch. The moon sounded like a bell for almost an hour. With a fresh comprehension of internal structure and material, that information reemerged like a forgotten warning. Natural rock doesn't behave that way, unless it is hollow, or worse, hollow and fortified. Kaku cited AI-driven geological simulations that agreed to only two possible explanations: either the moon is totally unlike all other planetary bodies we've examined, or it isn't a planetary body in the traditional sense. What made the discovery even more spine-tingling was that the same effect later caused the same ringing echoes on several Apollo missions. The moon behaved like a resonant instrument. This begged new and pressing questions: who constructed the instrument, and why was it engineered to respond to crashes in the first place? Then he shifted to a quieter enigma that had been expanding in the underground world of science over years: the odd emissions of the moon. Radio astronomers had been picking up low-frequency flares from the far side of the moon, confined electromagnetic activity that didn't correspond to any discerned geological or solar interactions. They happened at particular coordinates and regular intervals, as if they were synchronized to orbital coordinates or lunar cycles. Filtered by sophisticated signal processing software, some transmissions flashed repeated digital-like patterns, pulses that would eerily mirror early computer code. Might they be an ancient beacon or long-abandoned surveillance system? Kaku hesitated to affirm that, but reported the eerie coincidence: these frequencies peak when deep space probes traverse behind the moon. Whatever is hiding under that dry crust may not be a simple relic, it may be sentient, even aware of us. Mathematically, the moon's orbit itself had puzzling anomalies. Its size and distance make possible the uniquely exact total eclipses we enjoy on Earth, but that was just the beginning. Kaku demonstrated orbital models displaying a path so stable it ran counter to predicted long-term gravitational drift. Most moons exhibit some wobble or irregularity over millennia, ours does not. Even more eerily, the moon's rotation is precisely locked to Earth in such a way that we always see just one face, a tidal locking accounted for by textbooks as a gravitational effect, but whose chances of producing such an optimal eclipse engine are astronomically small. It appeared, Kaku contended, as though the moon had not only been built to orbit but to act, to steer, or to observe. Even Michio Kaku, who was typically upbeat, could no longer refer to that setup as natural. That which was most alarming in the presentation was what had been destroyed. Kaku spoke of dozens of Apollo original mission tapes, telemetry, high-frequency voice communications, and other information that had disappeared or been mysteriously recorded over. Other tapes allegedly recorded astronaut responses to strange lights, inexplicable machine noises in the depths, and when communications would mysteriously jam while flying around the backside. NASA whistleblowers, now in their old age, had started talking about intentional deletions, censored mission reports, and exclusive briefings where astronauts were informed never to speak about what they heard and saw on the moon. Kaku, wary of conspiracy theories, acknowledged the silence was too deafening to be denied. If the moon is indeed something much older and more advanced, whoever knows may be keeping it secret for a reason, and that reason might be scarier than the truth. As Michio Kaku moved away from the podium, a gravity-weight silence hung in the room, not the quiet of scientific wonder but the sort that follows upon a profound realization. Something we had gazed upon our whole lives may not be what we thought it was. The moon, that once romantic symbol of calm and light, now threw a much darker shadow. It might not be a natural satellite, it might not be dead, and it might not be our own. From its impossible orbit to its empty echoes, from old myths to vanishing NASA tapes, all we knew appeared to be coming apart. If a man who was rooted in reason and quantum law, Michio Kaku, who had just dissolved into tears over what the moon really could be, could have such an emotional response, then maybe we should all be listening. This was no longer just a matter of astronomy, it was a matter of who or what put the moon there and why it seems to be staring back at us. The last, creepy question lingered: what now? If we really open the moon's secrets and dig too hard, will we stir up something we were not supposed to discover? Tell me in the comments, do you think the moon is natural or something more? And if this news shook you like it shook us, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because what we're going to show you in the next video could completely flip everything you ever thought you knew about the sky we see above us. Sometimes the truth isn't out there, it's been above us the whole time.